everybody. Thanks for being here today for this webinar and on our new Git support and our ER Studio Enterprise Team Edition. You're going to see me using GitHub today, but you can work with any of those particular implementations of Git, GitHub, GitLab, the Atlassian Bitbucket, Azure repos, and IDEA's Assembler. So what does the Git support allow you to do? At a general level, it allows you to commit and push the DDL. So this is not to be confused with supplanting what we call the ER Studio repository, where your models and their objects and the metadata associated with them can still have the ER Studio repository as part of the environment. What we're talking about with the Git integration is the interface between Data Architect and when it's bringing in and sending out DDL or script files. That could be the create, that could be the alter files. And instead of putting them out to a Windows folder like it has done for years, we can now access a Git repository for that interchange. Create branches right in the tool, and we can compare and merge. That's where we get those alter scripts. Let's go ahead and jump into the product. So what you see on your screen now is our team server product. And so the journey we're going to take today is I've received an email as a modeler that has told me that someone has started a discussion on one of the metadata objects in conjunction with a dev request. So I'm going to go ahead and log in you're going to see me log in as admin there, but I would log in as Tim or use my domain credentials or SSO credentials. But I happen to know from the email, it came with a link that I can go right straight into my data catalog here, look at the HR database. I can look at that logical model. I can see that logical model in the main model here that's been published. And I happen to know that the email I received was about the department entity. And I can see the discussion here, hopefully, that a discussion has been made, and the request has been in conjunction with our change request 256 here, to support a dev effort on this particular entity. They would like me to add a department, an attribute for the department or entity to the SQL Server HR database. So given that information, I can now jump into Data Architect and fulfill this request. So you'll see me jump to the tab here. So now I'm in Data Architect 20.3. In 20.3, we not only added our Git integration, but we've also in 20.2 we added Databricks as a full-fledged platform, and on the team server side on the back end we added Purview as a data catalog integration. So a lot of great changes have come this year, and there's more coming later in the year as well. So let's get back and concentrate on Git here. So we know we have to deal with our HR database. So there's a couple things I could do here. One is I'm going to go ahead and I've logged into my repository. I'm going to get the diagram that's associated with that from my repository. There it is under the data catalog. I'm going to go ahead and check that out immediately and go ahead and get that model. It's just telling me I have a local copy to overwrite. So as Data Architect opens up this model for us, you can see I'm already on the physical model, but let's work as you remember in ER Studio, our logical models are platform agnostic. And one of the beauties of that, you can see right here in this model, that we have many different physical models, one for Postgres, for HR database on our SQL Server 2019. We have it on Snowflake as well. So the same implementation. This is very, very useful, especially when you get in to the data warehousing and analytics and data products kind of aspects, where those products might be subparts, sub-models, if you will, that are specific implementations from your warehouse model or your analytics model. So we're working with our HR database today. Our request was, let's go ahead and work with the department table or the department entity at the logical level here, and we're going to add an attribute to it. So double clicking on any on any object, brings up that object's editor, and I'm going to go ahead and add an attribute here right in my logical model, and we're going to call this department code. And we're going to call the department, the column name for it, we're going to call it dep CDE. And chart 10 is good, but you have all these dimensions that you can work with. If you know, modeling in data architecture is an iterative process, but I'm going to kind of take the defaults for us today and say okay, and say okay again here. And if I go ahead and make that a little bit bigger for us on the presentation, and I can always try to fit the model here with my display. You can see that department code is now part of that, part of that department entity on my logical model. Using compare and merge, I'm going to go ahead and merge this change from my logical model into that HR database SQL Server 2019 physical model. The way I do that is I use the compare and merge utility. And I'm going to, since I'm on the logical main model, I'm going to compare this since I want to move this change to my HR database. I'm going to move that. I'm going to move that by comparing it against another model in this file, which is that HR database SQL Server 2019 main model. And I'm going to choose that. Go through the steps here. I happen to know that that it was just department that I'm really worried about the changes on here. So I'm going to hit that next. And of course, compare and merge has found that there is an attribute in my logical model that does not exist in my physical model. What do I want to do? I want to go ahead and merge that into my target and hit finish. I will call out the report button here. We have other webinars and documentation on compare and merge, but the power and just abilities of the compare and merge feature within Data Architect cannot be understated. It does everything from being able to report out differences to merging and keeping models in sync between each other and inside themselves as well, which I'm doing here. I'm going to go ahead and hit finish. And so if I look at now my SQL Server 2019 physical model, you can see up here, I'll zoom in 100%. Well, that probably, let's go 200%. How big is that? And scroll up, and you can see our department code is now part of our SQL Server physical model for 2019, for the 2019 version. I'm going to fit that model so you can see it again. So now we've got that change. Now it comes into the time we're going to talk about DDL and DDL generation. And of course, we've always had the generate database or compare and merge that created that DDL file. But now if you look on our tools, you'll see there's a get option. So let's kind of segue into the get options for a little bit now. So under the get integration call out or pop up that gets that you receive when you click on the get options here, you can see that I've set up got the URL when I set up this Git repository, what my username is, what the password or it was the access token for it, and the local location on my desktop here where I have the file that's created. You can always hit the test here. The test will be successful. Let's take a look now at GitHub and leave an idea land. We're in GitHub land here. I'm sure you all recognize, but you can see that under idea, Tim, I do have this HR database, and I have the original version 1 for this HR database SQL Server file, right? So this is the DDL file that was put out initially. And just for us friends here, it was 34 minutes ago, but you could see how this would be implemented at your site. Maybe this would be 34 months ago, and now it's time to make changes to it. But this is what Git has, and this would be the DDL file for creating that database initially. So we can see that interface works. So let's go ahead and minimize that for now. Actually, what I'll do here is I'll go back to HR database. So we have that ready. So what I want to do in ER Studio now is, did I make changes? cancel? Yes. Okay. So we're on our HR database physical model. Again, we've added department code to it. Let's go ahead and generate a new create file for this database. Show you how to do that is the same process you've always used. Generate database from the physical model. You'll see that we have changes now in the dialog. You'll see that we have generate a script file to get. You can still create a Windows DDL file, or you can generate it straight with a database connection if your site and the platform allows that. In this case, SQL Server would, but typically at sites they don't want modelers changing your production databases right from their desktop. You have CI/CD and DevOps that control that. So let's go ahead, and as we integrate with our CI/CD, we're going to go ahead and generate this script file to our Git. So we're going to go ahead and connect there, and it's connected. Got a new dialog here for the Git file. What branch to use? I could create new branches if I want. For the demonstration today, we'll just use main. And here's the file. There's the actual file we're using, and to get versions on. And we're going to say that this is version 2, since you saw version 1 in GitHub just a minute ago. Decode added to depth table. Maybe that's the commit. So version 2, decode added to depth table. That looks good to me. We're going to say OK here, and we can hit next. Then it's the same dialog that we've always used. I'm not going to do the create statement. One thing you probably want to pay attention to is, and this is something that we're requesting a change on, and development's working for it. You probably want to generate comments. If you go ahead and select that, and you have table comments, and you've generated them with them before, you don't want those differences to show up on this generation later. So let's go ahead and generate those table comments. I'm going to go ahead and hit next, and I'm going to hit finish, and you can see it's gone up and it's done the push, and the push operation completed successfully. So let's close that out, and let's go back into GitHub land. And if I go, I'm in my HR database off idea Tim here, and if I look, actually, do I have to refresh to see that? Yeah, and there's a HR database SQL Server 2019 version 2. DCDE added to the depth table. So we can see that is there, and we've gone ahead and added that. I should have probably used the same name on that, but we can go ahead and open this up, and since I created a new file, if I use the same file name, I've got history there, and you can see that the history here, that when the version 2 was added. It all depends on how your DevOps and your CI/CD works, and if you want separate files or do you want just additions to the DDLs, so you can see changes in Git. All right, so that you can see has worked. So the next thing we'll do here is a compare and merge. So we do have a change here to our physical model. Maybe another journey would be to generate that alter SQL. So we would do that using compare and merge, since we have added a column, made changes to the physical model from its original version 1. So let's see what those differences are, and maybe generate some alter SQL. So I'm going to go ahead and you run compare and merge, and this I'm going to compare against a file from Git. So this is the new part here. I hope you all recognize that, and you can hit the connect here to see what you're going to connect to, what file, and obviously I want to go ahead and compare against that original file I created, the original HR database, to see what my differences are, what the versions are. We only have that one version for it. I'm going to hit next here. Going to do that compare, and I think my compare options are fine here. Let's see if we, okay, and it shows you that in our HR database model here, we have a column on the department that doesn't exist in our original Git creation of that database, right? So it's that department code that you expected to be there, and it's found it. So I can do, one thing to do here, by the way, is, and I had forgot it there too, do you want to generate the alter? Don't forget this checkbox. And I admonished myself for forgetting it, because when I threw it, I told myself not to forget it, and I went ahead and did. You got to check that checkbox here if you want to produce the alter SQL. So let's go through that again. And again, we're right where, and I could just select all resolutions to the status I want. But that's the reason merge into target wasn't there, because I hadn't checked that checkbox before. Again, I can hit the report button here, get a Word RTF or an HTML report to see what the difference are, maybe get and save that out as an accompanying document to your CI/CD, those kinds of things. So that functionality exists right there under the report button. I'm going to go ahead and hit next here. This is where it's going to locally put that SQL file, but I'm going to go ahead and generate this file to connect here. So this is for that alter. And I'm going to call, it's going to call this, let's hit the home button here, HR database SQL Server alter. I could give it, a more descriptive name, whatever suits the way you guys handle CI/CD and DevOps in your organization. I'm going to keep it at that. I could put the commit, and I could say, how about a message, alter for DCD on depth table, and alter for D. Yep, it looks like I've chosen wisely there. I'm going to say OK here. I'm going to go ahead and hit finish, and remember, there's a little iSQL applet within Data Architect, and it's just a little kind of IDE just to show you that alter. You can connect from here and run things. Most people, again, do have CI/CD or DevOps, and you don't run alters right from your desktop, but that functionality is there. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. Yep. And it has actually done the push operation successfully. So let's take a look at that in GitHub. So I'm going to go here again. Let's go back up. And you can see that do have that alter SQL has been pushed. The alter for DCDE on the depth table is there now. And there it is. So that's really, I hope you see just the power of now that our integration with the Git repository and GitHub adds to the modeler's capabilities to integrate with your your organization CI/CD and DevOps. That integration is all here, and again, you saw it from our team server product, right? Stemming from maybe a discussion to aid that workflow. What I want to do now is go back to the PowerPoint, and now that you've seen Git integration in action, what we've seen is that using our ER Studio model, generating that baseline. We can generate a baseline like we did for version 2.0. We can modify a logical model and a physical model and get those changes using compare and merge, and then generate the baseline 2.0. You saw that the 1.0 had already been in my repository there. And then you saw me generate the alter script by comparing your physical model with the changes, your version 2.0 changes to the version 1.0 baseline that was already in Git. So you can compare against the DDL that's in Git to produce that alter. Again, thank you for attending. Have a great day.